Hi, and welcome to another live episode of Marketplace Masters, brought to you by Merchant Spring, the leading marketplace analytics platform for Amazon agencies and vendors. Marketplace Masters strives to go deeper into the challenges that agencies face to lift e-commerce performance and via practical actions and insights. I'm your host, Paul Sommerveld, and today we're going to talk about strategies that will help you build a thriving email list and drive unprecedented growth for you and your Amazon business. I've invited Dr. Travis Ziegler to join us today and share his valuable expertise and perspectives on how to achieve this. Allow me to just quickly introduce him. Dr. Travis Ziegler is a recovering optometrist, very interesting, turned e-commerce entrepreneur. He founded and sold I Love in 2021. He now runs the profitable Pineapple Ads agency, specializing in growing nonprofits with their $120K per year Google Ads grant and growing brands with Amazon and audience building. Thank you so much for joining us today, especially given it's Prime Day and it's really, really early for you, Travis. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, Paul, thanks for having me on. I'm happy to be here. And you know the show's live when the host starts out on mute. So we're all good. We've already hit our snags, so we're good to go for the rest of the show.
I'd love to give you lots of technical excuses, but the reality is I am a repeat offender and I just don't click that unmute button hard enough. But, you know, my audience expects that.
It's the most commonly used phrase of our life now since 2020.
That's it. So, look, I'm very excited about today's episode because I think today, of all the shows we're doing, we always try to focus on practical things, but I couldn't think of a more practical topic than we're dealing with today. So, I'd love to just get a little bit of background here, Travis, before we sort of go into the mechanics of it and how it works. Really driving traffic from non-Amazon sources onto your Amazon listing. How did you get into this sort of growth hacking type approach, these techniques? How did you sort of discover or stumble into this?
Well, I never stop learning, and I think that's one of the main jobs as a CEO is your job is to learn. And so I'm constantly learning, and your job isn't to just replicate what you learn from someone else. Your job is actually to learn what somebody else is doing and then see how you can morph that into your business. And so back in about 2016, 2017, I started my Amazon selling journey back in 2015 when it was the Wild Wild West. And I saw what was coming in the Amazon space. I saw that you can't just sell another plastic piece or commodity from China and expect it to do well for a long period of time. And I wanted to build a real business. And so I turned my focus in 2016 and 2017 into serving an audience and serving a person. And then I just had to figure out how to get in front of that person. And so I morphed ideas that I learned from Ryan Moran and Ezra Firestone and some big players in the e-commerce space and just brought it into my own. And this strategy that I discovered is the one that we're going to be going over today. I've been doing it since 2017. And I'll tell you one thing, it is so much easier today than it was back in 2017. It's not getting harder in the marketplace. Things are getting easier in the marketplace. You just got to know how to make it easier with the tools that you have available.
That sounds super counterintuitive, right? Most people go, I had this great hack back in 2017, but it no longer works. We're looking for the new thing. You're saying the opposite. Why is that? Or is this something that will be clearer as we go through this?
It will be clearer as we go through it, but I want to say that we're not going to be going over the typical, we're going to take Google Ads, we're going to go direct to your Amazon listing, and that's what we're going to do. That's not what we're going to go through today. I'm going to show you how to build a real audience, how to serve that audience, and how to build a blog that gets a massive amount of traffic. And this isn't something that we've used on our Amazon business or our e-commerce brand. We used it to build a multi-million-dollar e-commerce brand, but I've also used it to build a multi-million-dollar agency as well. And then finally, we've done this for multiple clients as well. So it's not something that's just been a one-off and you're learning from another guru that's teaching you a one-off thing. I've done this tens of times. I'm not going to say hundreds or thousands, but we've done this across multiple clients. So it works. You just have to have a problem. You have to have a person that you want to serve. And then your product actually has to be differentiated in some way. You can't just sell another plastic commodity from China.
So it's proven, and actually it's applicable to not just Amazon. Actually, if you're selling on other channels or your own e-commerce platform, you can put this to good use as well. So, all right, well, let's get into it, Travis. What are the building blocks here? How would you break it down for someone who's completely new to this?
Yeah, so the first thing you have to know about your brand and about you is, what is your why? And this isn't going to be a Simon Sinek, what is why talk, but what is your why? Who do you want to serve? What lights you up? What tugs at your heartstrings? What do you want to be doing with the rest of your life? Don't think short term as far as cash flow. Think about, what do I want to be doing 10 years from now? And the longer term that you can think, the better it's going to be. So I'm going to go into a specific example. Our e-commerce brand, I Love, and we sold this in 2021, but we wanted to help eradicate the 1 billion people that are blind due to lack of glasses. And to get there, we were going to focus on dry eye sufferers. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but my wife and I are both eye doctors. And so we wanted to serve two different areas. Our mission trip for our life is the 1 billion blind due to lack of glasses. That's what we have a nonprofit for. And then our business was about helping the over 30 million just in the United States alone, actually it's more like 40 million now, that have and suffer from dry eye. And so really finding a problem that your business or that you want to solve, and then building the business around that problem and serving that audience for that problem. And that's one of the biggest keys. There's not any mechanics to that, but like just thinking about that hard. And what I always recommend people come to me all the time, what product should I come out with? I always ask them, what nonprofit would you start if money were not an object? And that usually gets to the point of what business you want to start around that.
Talks about their passions and interests. So practically speaking, I know this is easy to, from a personal point of view, or maybe I wouldn't say easy, but it's easier to think through those questions. But how does that work when you mentioned before you've done this with clients as well? Is that a process you go through with your clients, or do you find that they've already done their homework, so to speak?
Yeah, usually when we jump on a call with a client, one of the questions we ask them is, what is your why? And what do you want to be doing? If you were to start a nonprofit, what would the topic be? And so I want to get to the heart of them, because I get a lot of, to become financially free, to make a lot of money. And those aren't the clients we want to work with. We work with clients that actually give a damn and that actually have a deeper meaning to what they're doing with their business. And if we can't get behind that, then we're not going to onboard them. We don't just onboard everybody. We're a pretty higher end agency, and we're not like the highest end, but we're a higher end agency when it comes to this space. And I want to get behind your mission as a person. And when that gets us excited as an agency, then we want to work for you more, obviously, because we want you to succeed in your mission. And so it's pretty easy to find it. Like our very first client was a malnourished person in Nazi Germany way long ago. He's in his 90s now. And he was malnourished as a kid. And so he came out with a vitamin company and then they give back to malnourished children. And so that's an example. That was our very first client. They're still with us today. And that's an example of the missions we get behind. So we asked them that in the interview process of if we want to get behind it or not. So it's a pretty big part of our agency to ask the why and figure that out, because when you discover problems that your product can solve, that's when you can create a whole entire blog, a whole entire website, a whole entire story around your brand. And that's the key to then building that email list that's engaged and then selling more on Amazon.
Yeah. So you're already starting to, let's talk about some of those other building blocks then. We've established the why, a meaningful why, not the superficial, I just want to have 7 figures in my bank account. What's the next? So where do we go from there?
Yeah, so the 7 figures in the bank account will come from the service. Trust me, it works every time. But let's get into the nitty gritty. So the first thing we want to do is actually figure out that problem. And then once we've figured out that problem, find keywords around that problem. So my example, dry eyes. So what all is around dry eyes? So dry eyes is caused from something called blepharitis, meibomian gland dysfunction, styes. These are all eyelid problems. And so, yes, I know that because I'm a doctor, but you can do simple research on whatever problem your business solves and find keywords around it. And what I like to do then is go to Google Keyword Planner. You can use any tool like Ubersuggest, Ahrefs, SEMrush, any of those as well. But Google Keyword Planner is free if you're doing Google Ads. And I'll put all those words into Google Keyword Planner. and it will pop up the search volume per month, how much competition they're getting on Google Ads, and then what the bid range is. And then what I look for then is what gets the highest search volume for the cheapest cost. And then once I hone in on that keyword, I'm then going to take that keyword and focus blog posts around that keyword or landing pages around that keyword. And so dry eye, an example of that, blepharitis gets a ton of search volume. And you may be asking yourself, what is blepharitis? It's just inflammation of the eyelids. And so we create a blog article around that. So I go over to ChatGPT or Jasper or insert AI of your choice, and I'll put in, write me a blog article on how to treat blepharitis, make it 1,000 to 2,000 words in the tone of a doctor talking to a third grader. And in the treatment section, include my product, Mediviz eyelid wipes. And so then we get this long blog article, 1,000 to 2,000 words, that talks about blepharitis, what it is, what causes it. And then it talks about treatments. Now you do have to be careful of structure function claims in whatever country you're selling in. So FDA in the United States, I can't think of what Australia's is, but you guys have something similar. I know that.
Something similar, yep.
Yep. And so you can't say you treat it unless you have the studies to back it. But there are ways that you can word it, like cleaning your eyelids is great for treatment of blepharitis. Here's how we clean our eyelids. And so then we talk about cleaning our eyelids with our products. And then in that blog post, there will be Amazon attribution links, which is a godsend. That was a great invention by Amazon for us. And so is ChatGPT, of course. And then we send them from the blog post over to Amazon attribution, or through the Amazon attribution link over to Amazon to buy. We've seen going direct to the product display page or the PDP as being the best option. It's the highest conversion rate. It seems to boost the organic ranking boost keyword rankings, even though the conversion rate is a lot lower than what you have on your listing. Sending that external traffic to Amazon is key because Amazon loves external traffic. So to briefly summarize that, find the problem, look up the keywords, build a blog post, put in Amazon attribution links, and then we'll go over to Amazon. Does that all make sense?
It does. It does. A couple of small follow-up questions from my end before we sort of work through the practical example. I want to go back to the Google Keywords Planner. Great tool. You mentioned you want to look for the high volume keywords. I think I understand that, but you want to go for the lowest cost.
Yeah.
Now, if I was building an ad campaign, I would definitely go for that. But we're talking organic ranking here, right? And blogs. So maybe if you could just, do you mind just explaining that a little bit more? I'm not being an SEO expert here by any means. So why go for that lowest cost? Or wouldn't you just go for any keyword with volume?
So SEO is great, but lowest cost because we're going to use Google Ads eventually. And okay. Google Ads is how we get our initial traffic. And Google Ads, we can push it in that low cost per click is going to get you volume onto that blog post. Because most people that are advertising on Google Ads are focused on product-based keywords. Product-based keywords. Eyelid wipes, warm compress. Those are product-based keywords. We're focusing on problem-based keywords like blepharitis. And the difference is huge. Product-based keywords, you're going to pay $1 to $5 to $10 to $20 for a click. Problem-based keywords, you're usually going to spend under $1 for those. If not, we have one article that's spending 2 cents a click. And you can imagine the volume. It gets 300,000 searches a month, 2 cents a click. You can imagine the volume we're getting to our website, to that blog article, as a result of those 2 cent clicks. And so you can imagine we scale that as far as we can because we want to get all that volume to our website. And we've actually done it with 2 different websites. So Google Ads is step number 2. We focus on search campaigns and we maximize for clicks, not conversions, because we can't do it yet. I'm sure it's coming, but we can't feed the data that Amazon made a sale back to Google to maximize for conversions. And so we maximize for clicks. And what we find is we get a lot of clicks to our website, and then it usually ends up converting anywhere from a 1 to 5% chance over to Amazon. But the good thing is you have this intermediary page, which is then going to filter out some people that aren't going to buy. And so that increases your conversion rate over to Amazon. But usually what we see is the amount of traffic we get on the blog, about 1 to 5% will convert over on Amazon. And the reason we send them to Amazon and not stay on our Shopify store or wherever we have the blog
That was
is
my next question.
conversion rate. It's conversion rate. It's ease. Reduce the friction to get them to buy your product. Because if your product is good enough, I guess we should go back to step one, quality product. Have a good product. If your product is good enough, they're going to come back to buy more, and they're going to come back to buy more of your other products as well. This is why it's so key to have this congruent brand that has all the products line up together. So we had eyelid wipes, we had warm compresses, we had face washes, eye creams, eyelid sprays. We had all this stuff that was congruent around a dry eye problem, because once they try one of our products, they then try all of them because they love that one product. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And in terms of the content on the blog versus the content on the product page on Amazon, are you trying to create some form of consistency just to sort of make the buying journey smooth, and talking about similar things, similar phrases, similar words in terms of recognitions? I mean, how do you think about that versus obviously trying to optimize for search and conversion within Amazon itself?
Yeah, so you got to be careful with the words that you use, of course, with the structure function claims like we talked about earlier. But you do try to make it as congruent as possible with verbiage, with pictures. And so like I'll try to put similar pictures on our blog that we have on our Amazon page, essentially banner ads, you can think of them as, but they're clicking on the picture of the product. And I'll show examples of this a little later, but they're clicking on the picture of the product and going straight to Amazon of that product. And so it should be a very streamlined service or streamlined experience from Google ad to blog post to Amazon. And so it should all be congruent. The more that all flows together, the higher your conversion rate is going to be, and the better your ads are going to be. Pretty obvious, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Do you want to jump into an example of keyword
Yeah, I'd love
planner
to see
just
some practical, yeah, if we can get the screen share to work, let's do it.
Yeah, let's see here. Keyword planner. So you guys can probably see my screen.
I'm just adding it to the stream now. Here we go.
All right. So this is keyword planner. And like we talked about, problem-based keywords. So I'm going to put dry eye in here. I'm going to put blepharitis in here. And then we talked about meibomian gland dysfunction, if I can spell it. Long one. And then we'll just do those three, but you can put as many as up to 8 to 10 in there. And then you can see right here, your average monthly searches. Let me actually make this a little bigger so you guys can see it better. And we'll get rid of this side. So average monthly search volume right here, 74,000 for dry eye. Blepharitis, 301,000. Meibomian gland dysfunction, 22,000. And so I'm most interested in this one, 300,000. And yours might look different. If you haven't spent on Google Ads, it will look a lot different than this. This is not the express plan that you get with Google Ads. This is the full plan. Competition right here is low. That's telling me that there's low competition on Google Ads for this keyword. There's not a lot of people bidding on it. There are still some. And then you can see the price here. So $1.74 for dry eye. And this is on the low range. It goes to high range over here. Blepharitis, 24 cents. Meibomian gland dysfunction, 18 cents. And so what's going to give me the biggest bang for my buck? Blepharitis, 300,000 with 24 cents. And so then what I do is I will take my blepharitis keyword and let me go over to ChatGPT. New chat. And then I'll say, write me a 1,000 word blog post on blepharitis. In the treatment section, talk about eyelid wipes and encourage them to buy mine on Amazon. MediViz.
We're still seeing your keyword planner, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Share this tab instead. There we go.
That's all right.
So write me a 1,000 word blog post on blepharitis. In the treatment section, talk about eyelid wipes and encourage them to buy mine on Amazon. So click that, and literally you have a full blog post in 5 minutes. So this used to take us weeks because we used to have to find a writer that spoke the native language, and then you'd have to manage those writers and pay $200 for the writer to write you a blog post, and then you go back and forth with edits. And now we have ChatGPT to literally do it in about 2 seconds for you. And so you can see it talks about what it is, causes and symptoms, and then it will talk about the treatment section here in just a little bit. The MediVis approach, so I'd probably change that just a little bit. But this makes it so much easier. And then we post it to a blog, and then we drive Google Ads traffic to that. Did you want me to jump into showing you like an example of a blog post?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let me go find one. I'll show you two different ones. I'm going to share this tab instead. So I'm going to show you two different ones. So this is an example of one on our nonprofit site. So with Google Ads, you actually get $120,000 in free Google Ads grants for your nonprofit. Now, start your nonprofit for the right reason. Don't start it to get the grant, but actually do a nonprofit to start a nonprofit. Our nonprofit, like I said, is about serving the 1 billion people that are blind due to lack of glasses. We go on mission trips every year, sometimes 2 or 3. And this year we're going to the Bahamas. This will be our 14th. And we give glasses, sunglasses, eye exams, surgeries that are needed. But to raise money, what we did is we became affiliates for products. These used to be our products, but we sold this company. But we still have an affiliate relationship with them where they pay us for sending them sales. It's very common for nonprofits to be affiliates for brands. And you can use that $120,000 in Google Ads grant to drive traffic to this sty article. So it talks about what is a sty and 2 simple steps in getting rid of it. You heat up the eyelid. Here's an example. You're going to see a prettier example on the next one. And then here's cleanse your face and eyelids with an eyelid wipe. When they click this picture or the check price and purchase eyelid wipes on Amazon, they go straight to the product display page on Amazon. And so then they'll purchase here. So key thing here, obviously being have a good product, have reviews that are in the 4.5 star range, and that's going to make it easier to convert. Just basic things there.
Yeah.
And then have congruent pictures. So this picture was on the blog, like you talked about, congruency.
Yeah, provide that linkage. Yeah, the visual linkage. Yeah.
And then let me show you one more example. That was our nonprofit website. This one is actually going to be our for-profit website. So that article is working really well. So we replicated it. So we're driving traffic from the nonprofit side and from the for-profit side. Now I no longer run this brand because this is the brand we sold, but this was on the for-profit side. So same thing, heat up the eyelid, cleanse your face and eyelids with a hypochlorous acid, and then eyelid wipes. Same thing, click on it, it goes right to your Amazon page. Very, very simple. It's not hard to do. So problem-based blog posts, problem-based keywords, driving Google Ads. I think that's where we need to go next. Is I'll show you the actual advertisement. And this is what the ad looks like. Pretty simple. So there's a mobile ad. Here's your desktop ad.
Yep.
Key thing is though, use ChatGPT for this as well. So these are site link extensions that just makes your ad bigger. This is your headlines and this is your description. So let's head back over to ChatGPT. And I'll say, write me 20 headlines limited to 30 characters for Google Ads. Again, you know how long it took me to write 20 headlines back when I actually had to think about it? And here ChatGPT does it in 2 seconds. And then we're going to do that same thing. So we're going to do write me 10 descriptions limited to 90 characters for Google Ads. Same thing. So now we have our blog built, our headlines built, our descriptions built for Google Ads, all in minutes with ChatGPT and using this. And then you could probably even do the keyword research that we did with Google Ads Keyword Planner on ChatGPT. I still like to do it manually though, just because I call it manually, but like the old school way, just because I like to get a feel for all the data and everything. But yeah, that's how simple this process is. And that's actually where you can stop right there. That's all you need to do. There's some bonus parts that we could get into if we have time, but that is the process I've used to build a multi-million-dollar brand for us called I Love, which I just showed you, 6-figure nonprofit So we've made over 6 figures with our nonprofit, which then goes back to our mission work. We've used it to build a multi-million-dollar agency. And so it works. It's multifaceted. It doesn't just work for the brand side, but it also works for the agency side. It works for pretty much anything you want to build. I could do this locally for a chiropractor. And instead of, advertising this nationwide, I'd do it locally. So find those keywords, blepharitis, for example, and localize it to a 30 to 40 mile radius around that optometrist. And so people that are searching for that problem will go to his blog site and then hopefully book a phone call with him and an appointment with him. So don't think this is just limited to brands or to a brand person on Amazon or sales on Amazon. This works for everything. So yeah, that's the basic step 1 and 2 of this process. There is step 3 and 4, but you don't need step 3 and 4. This is steps 1 and 2, which is the bread and the butter of it, the 80-20.
Just knowing there's a step 3 and 4 makes me want to know what are they. Can you give us a quick summary of what?
Yeah.
We don't have to go too much detail.
Yeah, we won't go into too much detail with it, but the blog's primary purpose is to send them over to buy on Amazon, buy on Shopify. Well, the primary purpose is to serve them, to figure out how to serve them and solve their problem. But you want them to buy your product. That's what's going to pay the bills, right? The second thing is you want to get their email address. And so what we usually have is an initial pop-up that will come up to go buy on Amazon. But then usually a little later on, like 60 seconds in, if they're still on that blog, we'll have another pop-up that will give them a free gift. So a free gift has to be more valuable than their email address. And to the person, an email address is incredibly valuable. It's like giving up your address. And so what we do then is we'll do like a free dry eye book. My wife and I wrote a dry eye book. It's sitting on my shelf. I don't think you can see it because I'm not zoomed out enough. But we wrote a 200-page dry eye book called Rethinking Dry Eye Treatment. And we gave that away for free, the digital version of it, if you put in your email address. That led to us getting at one time 200 emails per day for our brand because we were getting 200,000 searches or hits a month on that blog post. So it led to 200 emails a day. So when you have that traffic, create something incredibly valuable for them. For the agency, we give away a free Amazon PPC masterclass. And I always say that this is better than any paid Amazon PPC masterclass that you can take. And so incredibly valuable. It's a 10-week course, literally like video course, SOPs, and I selfishly created it for my agency because when we onboard somebody, that's what they go through. They go through our free course and then our paid course. And it's incredibly valuable to do that. So make sure you make it valuable enough that they want to give you your email address. So email address capture number 1, and then actually email them number 2 with value. So don't try to sell them in the email. Provide service with them with one call to action in every email. And what we do is we email Monday about our YouTube video we're releasing, Tuesday about our mastermind call on Wednesdays. We have a drip sequence that goes on Wednesday and Friday. And then on Thursday, I write an email all about just something going on in my life. So service email, that a lesson I've learned in the past week or so. And it usually has a call to action of like, we usually release another video on Thursday, like, hey, go check out this video on YouTube. And so, but service is the key thing. We're not trying to sell. We try to sell once every 10 emails. So capturing the email and serving them with the email address. And then part 4, optional as well, is retargeting or remarketing people that have been on that blog post to get them back on that blog post or to get them to go buy the product. So we'll use Facebook ads for that and Google ads remarketing as well. And so what you do is you'll retarget them to just get them back on that blog post, number 1, because think about when you are reading an article, you're in the grocery store line, you're busy, your kids are bothering you, so you don't get to read it and you forget about it. But then you get retargeted back on Facebook or Instagram. So you go, oh yeah, I wanted to read that article. So you go back to it. And so you're just kind of reminding them about that article. And then we also retarget them with a direct link, attribution link over to Amazon to buy. And so they've read the article, they've seen the product, you're just reminding them to go buy. Now we can't get data back that after they buy to not serve the article anymore. So we just keep serving it to them with different products that are on that article. And so step 1, blog posts, keywords. Step 2, Google ads to that blog post. SEO eventually kicks in after 6 months to a year. Then we get the email address and then we remarket them with Facebook. And so just do the first 2 steps. That's all you need to do. But then as you get comfortable with the strategy, add the email and add the Facebook as well.
Fantastic. I love the practically. I actually feel like giving this a go. It's already evening here in Australia, but I actually feel like I was going to take the evening off, but I might just invest a bit of time here. That's fantastic. I love the practical nature of this. I was going to ask, just at a top line, like this is a completely different way of thinking about driving sales, particularly in the context of Amazon. How does it compare? And this may be a little bit of an unfair question, but how does it compare to more of the traditional way, which is we're just going to keep optimizing sponsored ads and sponsored brands? And I'm sure it's not an either or type conversation, but broadly speaking, what sort of, ACOS or TACOS or however you want to express it, are you seeing on this sort of approach versus perhaps a more traditional approach?
So it depends on your category, obviously, with sponsored ads and everything, because with sponsored ads, you can get incredibly good ROAS. We have clients that are getting a 10 ROAS, but they're focused on profitability. We have other clients that are getting a 2 ROAS and they're focusing on growth. And so it just depends on what phase of the business you're in. But our strategy with the agency is to do both. And so we'll optimize sponsored ads first when we bring on a new client. And then the second thing, which is usually in the second month, if not the first one, we'll start to add this external traffic piece. I call it our moat building process. We build a moat around your Amazon listing because you want to drive multiple forms of traffic to your listing. Amazon loves that and they reward that. And another thing is if you go out of stock or something happens and your listing gets taken down, you lose all that rank. This helps build it right back up because you're not just sending PPC, Amazon PPC. You're sending external traffic as well from multiple forms. Like we have the nonprofit, we have the for-profit website, the nonprofit website, we have Google Ads Direct, we have Facebook ads. It sounds like a lot, but once you get this into a system, it works incredibly well because you're sending all this diversity. Going back to your question though, Google Ads is going to be lower ROAS than Amazon PPC because you have to think about the intent of the buyer. So when somebody's on Amazon, their buying intent is extremely high because they're on Amazon. And that's what you do on Amazon, you buy. When you're on Google, they have a buying intent, but they also have a shopping intent, or not shopping, but research intent. And so they're going to buy or research. So we're going after keywords that are more research intent. So they're not in the high buying mode, but your goal with the article is to provide them value to then serve them to go buy on Amazon. So a little lower ROAS. And then when we get to Facebook or TikTok or any of those, even lower because that's called interruptive marketing. So again, Amazon buying intent, Google buying and research, and then Facebook and TikTok interruptive. You're trying to interrupt them from watching videos. You're trying to interrupt them from scrolling their feed to then go over and buy your product or to go over and read your article. Completely different intent. So lower ROAS. ROAS is going to go down. So most people focus on Facebook ads first when they're building a business off of Amazon, but it's interruptive marketing. It's going to be a lot harder to get people to buy. I like to focus on Google Ads because Google Ads has shopping intent. And so higher ROAS usually with Google Ads, but I'm very biased because I love Google Ads. And I've done hundreds of thousands, if not millions in ad spend with Google Ads across all my clients and with my own brand as a result of this. This strategy that I went over today though, you don't have to spend that much. You start out at $5 a day and you scale it from there. And if you do it right, your ROAS can be huge. Our best performing article is getting, I think it's like 1,100 clicks per week at 2 cents a click with a 42% click-through rate on Google, which is absurd. 5% is good on Google Ads. And we're getting a 42%, but the higher your click-through rate, the lower your cost per click and the more engaged it's going to be because Google's going to show it more because it's working. But the ROAS for that is 4+. And we're trying to feed it more, but we just can't because it's already maxed out. And these are limited, of course, because of search ads. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent now. Going back to your question, though, the ROAS question, I think I covered that.
I do appreciate how you contextualize the ROAS and what you should expect, given the different media and the purchase intent and where the consumer is at. So that's been very helpful for me to paint that framework. I think the only other thing I would add to that is, based on what you were saying before, the Google Ads way, you do depending on your strategy, when you've gone down to step 3 or 4, I can't remember which one it was, you do end up catching an email address, and there's some value there in terms of monetizing that down the road as well. So super, super interesting and very, very practical. We are way out of time. I know I promised you about 20 minutes. I think we're almost double that. So thank you so much for staying on, going through this very practical material. I'm inspired to actually give this a go now, and I'm going to get some of my colleagues to watch this video as well. Final question I always like to end on is, anyone watching either the show live today or through some of the other channels on demand afterwards, and they're interested in exploring this more and maybe even working with you, Travis, how should they get hold of you?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you having me on the show. This was fun, even though it was 5:45 in the morning here in the United States. It was a good time. ProfitablePineapple.com. It's right below my name on the screen. ProfitablePineapple.com. You can apply to work with us there, but also that's where our free Amazon PPC Masterclass is. And when I said that, you can put that pin it against any paid course, and I guarantee it will beat it. And then thirdly, our audience building course is on there too. So the strategy we discussed today, I go through it and show you exactly how we build it. And so it's called the audience building course. It's absolutely free as well. And that's the value that we give away, is I show you exactly how to do both of those to get you on the email list, because I know that if I get you on the email list, you're going to love that product. And then you're going to be like, wait, if this is the free stuff, what is the paid stuff? And so that's the goal, is to provide you with so much value that you just have no choice but to buy, right? And that's the whole point, is I want to serve you first and prove our worth to then have you join us in the paid side. So ProfitablePineapple.com is where you can do that. And then we're also on YouTube at Profitable Pineapple Ads.
Awesome. Fantastic, Travis. Thank you so much for waking up early, joining me for this week's episode. I said it again, but I love the practical insights, and I'm really inspired to really have a go at this. So I look forward to doing that, and hitting you up for some further tips around step 3 and 4 along the way. But thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and all the best for Prime Day sales today. I'm sure all sales are set. Not much else to be done. Just let the sales roll. So
yeah, this is the time to relax and just let it go.
That's it. All right. Take care.
Thanks, Paul.
That's it for today's episode of Marketplace Masters. I hope you enjoyed that and got as much value out of it as I did. Until next time, have a great Prime Day and see you then.